In this part of the competition, we are taking on this fictitious role of the board of directors that's been identified by the group. And I just want to make sure Mia and Marie know that we are board of directors. Okay, so we're going to ask questions from that perspective. And then afterwards, we will give feedback as judges. Okay, so first we're going to take on questions as that role. And we'll have 10 to 15 minutes to do that, and then we'll give the feedback. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to CMST Consulting, LLC.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for that lovely introduction. We are CMST Consulting, and today we'll be presenting Vantage data centers with a cost-effective opportunity to minimize energy consumption while improving their performance. Sounds too good to be true, right? It's not. With our research in liquid cooling technologies, we can guarantee a more efficient data center that is better for the planet at the same time. My name is Terrence Connolly. I am the Financial Strategy Analyst for CMST, and I look forward to talking to you all about liquid cooling and ending water waste in the digital age. Now I pass it off to the rest of my team here at CMST.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Maria Sirikova, and I am the Legal and Risk Compliance Analyst.
Hi, my name is Sophia Chavez, and I am the Ethics Advisor for CMST Consulting.
Claire, you're on mute.
Yeah.
There we go. My name is Claire Coco, and I am the Sustainability Consultant for CMST Consulting. And after Terrence's lovely introduction, we're going to talk more about the sustainability aspect within our group. So at CMST Consulting, our mission is to support sustainability practices that align with global goals. So these global goals are going to be specifically sustainable development goal number 6 and number 7. So number 6 is ensuring availability and sustainable management of water. And then number 7 is ensuring access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy for all. So Vantage Data Centers has made significant strides in minimizing water usage with its airtight cooled and closed loop chillers. These systems are a step in the right direction, eliminating the need for ongoing water resources and reducing the center's reliance on local potable water. However, sustainability is not just about water. It's also heavily involved in energy efficiency. So data centers currently account for about 1% of global electricity use. And as demand for computing power grows, so does the energy required to cool these systems. So Vantage's commitment to reducing its environmental impact can be further enhanced by exploring advanced liquid cooling technologies. So these systems offer greater energy efficiency compared to traditional air cooling methods by using less electricity to maintain the necessary temperatures in high density computing environments. So by optimizing this energy usage, Vantage can reduce its overall carbon footprint, which is especially important as data centers in the ICT sector account for roughly 2 to 3% of global electricity demand, and their carbon footprint continues to rise. So this in turn aligns with SDG number 7 by ensuring more sustainable, reliable, and affordable energy consumption. So in addition to lowering energy costs, these cooling systems can help Vantage meet both federal and state energy regulations while improving long-term operational sustainability. So this strategic approach positions Vantage Data Centers not only as sort of a leader in the data industry, but also as a key player in the global push towards environmental responsibility. So by continuing to prioritize energy efficiency and innovative cooling technologies, Vantage can set a new standard for the industry and driving a future where technological advancement and sustainability can go hand in hand with each other.
Thank you, Claire, for that wonderful explanation on the sustainability aspect of our solution. I'm Sophia Chavez. As I said, I'm the Ethics Advisor for CMST Consulting. Thankfully, a sustainable solution is an ethical solution. Sustainability and ethics go hand in hand when it comes to environmental justice. Environmental justice is a concept that no group nor individual should be unequally burdened by environmental consequences caused by another group's activity. This usually occurs when a government or corporate entity pollutes, uses up resources, and negatively impacts a community through their effects on the natural environment. As mentioned, Vantage's presence in both Santa Clara and Phoenix places it directly within regions facing increasing water scarcity. Small Santa Clara County is home to approximately 1,000 farms, many of which are small, family-run operations with limited resources to adapt to the rising water costs or reduced availability. Santa Clara is also has a long history of being a center for Asian American agriculture. Currently, 191 of these farms are owned by Asian Americans. These farms are important for the cultural history of Santa Clara, and the local community has made an effort to preserve these cultural centers in the tech capital of California. As many of you know, Santa Clara Valley has become Silicon Valley. And considering the long history of oppression and cultural erasure of Asian Americans in the Western United States, historical and cultural centers must be preserved. Moving on to Arizona, Phoenix is experiencing a rapid population growth alongside an already developing agricultural sector, furthering the intensifying demand for water in an already arid environment. Phoenix is currently in what some experts label a food apartheid, as there are systemic disparities in access to food across the diverse communities of Phoenix. The agricultural sector in Phoenix helps alleviate this food apartheid in Arizona. Arizona is also reliant on dwindling groundwater and top water resources in order to get access to water. Specifically, they get access to water from the Colorado River, which is currently experiencing a drought and is at risk of drying up. So preserving these resources is crucial. So how does Vantage's choice between irresponsible and responsible water usage relate to environmental justice in these communities? Through water competition. Both Phoenix and Santa Clara are agricultural and urban areas that have increasing demand for water usage, whether that's drinking water, sanitation, or crop irrigation. Data centers like Vantage with our financial resources can often afford to pay higher premiums for water, effectively outcompeting smaller agricultural operations and individual residents. This competition for scarce resource inevitably dries up water costs, placing a disproportionate burden on community members, especially those with lower incomes and those who are reliant on agriculture for their livelihoods. This raises serious questions about fairness and equity. As Vantage is now acting as a member of these communities, since they are economically operating within them, we should make attempts to support local agriculture and small businesses rather than being in competition with them. Still, there is a question about why Vantage should care. Why should Vantage implement change? We should implement change because the ethical path forward is the best path forward for all stakeholders. Responsible water usage offers a powerful mutual benefit. Investors and clients benefit from sustainable and well-managed resources because it lowers costs, whereas communities and individuals benefit from a lack of competition for needed resources and protection for their local communities. Adopting water-efficient cooling technologies creates this win-win scenario. Data centers which choose water cooling versus air cooling have already reduced their environmental impact and have lowered their spending on energy. But by implementing more efficient water-based systems, we continue to reduce the environmental impacts and potential operational risks associated with water scarcity. Local communities benefit from the preservation of vital water resources for agriculture, drinking water, and the ecosystem's health. The shift towards sustainable cooling aligns with the principle of serving the interests of the greater good, ensuring that the needs of the wider community and the environment are prioritized alongside the operational needs of our data centers. By using less water, we are lowering our own costs. Water in these areas is expensive, so both Vantage and local communities benefit by implementation. Preservation of our resources is also important for maintaining the environment for future generations. Those who come after us are something of a forgotten stakeholder because our actions now will affect them in the future. Crucially, these water efficient solutions aren't just some theoretical thing we could implement sometime in the future. They are practical and increasingly available. They represent a tangible way data centers can mitigate our water footprint, reducing costs without compromising our capabilities. Implementing water-based cooling systems that use less water is not merely a rational decision, it is an ethical imperative. And by embracing innovation, Vantage can demonstrate a commitment to our stakeholders, protect vital resources, and contribute to a more sustainable, affordable, and equitable future for all.
Now for the $1 million question. How much is all this going to cost? We're going to walk you through 3 examples of liquid cooling technologies that we would recommend Vantage Data Centers puts in to their various different data centers. The first one is immersion cooling. Immersion cooling is when you take a dielectric liquid coolant and you put it actually submerged into the computerized machine to then automatically filter through and reuse water to conserve water. This is a somewhat expensive process that would be recommended to have the largest ROI and expected savings in the largest data centers Vantage has to offer. The initial setup will cost $10,000 to $50,000, dependent on the system size and required infrastructure in the data center already. And the energy consumption rates can range from 5 cents to 15 cents per kilowatt hour. This is roughly a quarter to a third at the most of the energy an air-cooled system would use in the same process for an annual return. Immersion cooling also comes with minimal maintenance needs of $5,000 to $10,000 annually. A well-kept immersion cooling system can run for years on end with minimal maintenance and show up to 30% expected savings with an expected ROI within a 5 to 10 year period. This would be the largest package offered, but would show the most savings possible if used and maintained properly. Next, we are going to talk about all-in-one or AIO cooling. This is going to be your standard liquid cooling solution that we could recommend to any data center across the country. The initial setup will be $3,000 to $10,000 per rack, dependent on the complexity and number of components within your system, and the energy consumption cost will be $50,000 to $150,000 annually. Again, air cooling is $200,000 to $500,000 annually. So spending $500,000 is significantly more for an air-cooled system, whereas this maintains the 1/4 to 1/3% of the energy consumption an air-cooled system would use. The maintenance costs are roughly the same at $5,000 to $15,000 annually, and ROI would be expected in 3 to 5 years with 20% savings. The key thing to note about AIO cooling is replacements, if poorly maintained, may be expected in a 3 to 5 year period from installation. However, even with the maintenance needs and replacements, you can still expect to see ROI on your investment in 3 to 5 years. This is your standard all-in-one solution that would be good for any data center across the country. Next, we have direct-to-chip or D2C cooling. This focuses on heavy intensive machinery that may not be in the largest data centers, but needs to cool an intensive output through the data center. The setup could be expected to be $20,000 to $50,000 per rack, and the energy consumption is $50,000 to $120,000 per megawatt. However, it typically requires only 0.5 to 1.2 megawatts to run. So you can see that the actual expected number will be significantly less than that, dependent on the data center Vantage chooses to put it in. It also has very minimal maintenance needs of $5,000 to $10,000 annually, with an expected ROI within a 3 to 5 year period, with expected savings being 20% annually. This is a very interesting option as it would not be ideal for every data center. However, for a data center with intensive output in a small to medium facility that cannot house an immersion cooling hardware, this would be a great option to protect and maintain intensive output in your data center.
Thank you, Terrence, for breaking down the financial costs of our proposed solution. And now we're going to move on to the legal aspect. So currently, Vantage has no confirmed legal violations to date, which is amazing. However, the company does face some significant legal risks tied to its reliance on the current cooling systems used, especially those that use potable water. Vantage currently operates in several water-stressed states, including California, Arizona, and Texas, where water usage is heavily regulated due to ongoing drought conditions and increasing environmental concerns. Some other risks are made up of the threat of community lawsuits from residents and business owners who might argue that data center water consumption infringes on public resources, which could potentially result in public nuisance or negligence claims. And additionally, environmental advocacy groups may pursue legal action under the Clean Water Act or local environmental statutes, particularly if water overuse harms nearby ecosystems. And moreover, continued reliance on water-intensive cooling can create compliance issues with ESG disclosures, environmental, social, and governance disclosures. Under the SEC's expanding sustainability reporting expectations, failing to accurately disclose water usage or misleading investors about the environmental impact of operations could potentially lead to investigations, penalties, or shareholder lawsuits. And now breaking it down by the two states, and going a little more deeper into the state-specific water regulations. In California, any large-scale water usage, especially in regions impacted by drought, may trigger regulatory requirements under the CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. And additionally, new legislation like the Assembly Bill 93, AB 93, proposes that data centers disclose annual water use and meet water efficiency standards as a condition for business license renewal. And in Arizona, data centers operating in AMAs, active management areas, must secure general industrial use permits under ARS 45515 and follow strict groundwater conservation regulations. Those permits must prove access to long-term water supply and use of alternative sources if available. An advantage exceeds its allowable limits or fails to use water efficiently, it could possibly face fines or lose access to key water sources. So given this legal landscape, our proposed solution, implementing non-potable liquid cooling technologies, directly addresses those risks and vulnerabilities. First, liquid cooling systems can significantly reduce or eliminate the use of potable water, which could help Vantage avoid violations of state-specific conservation mandates and align with regulations such as the AB 93 in California and other groundwater use restrictions in Arizona. These systems also reduce the risk of triggering CQA or similar environmental reviews since they minimize the environmental impact. Next, by using non-potable and recycled water and avoiding open discharge, liquid cooling systems can help Vantage bypass or simplify requirements for NPDES, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits under the Clean Water Act. In jurisdictions where environmental impact reviews are required, liquid cooling offers a lower risk footprint, improving Vantage's ability to gain necessary permits without costly legal delays. And the transition to liquid cooling supports compliance with local zoning, building, and safety codes, while also introducing fewer hazards than traditional systems. And although the new system would require proper OSHA compliance, worker training, and updated safety protocols, these are very, very manageable legal requirements that pose less risk than potential litigation from environmental or community harm. And finally, adopting a more sustainable and legally sound cooling solution helps Vantage maintain key industry certifications like ANSI TIA 942 and Uptime Institute tier levels, which are usually built into service level agreements with customers. So ensuring cooling performance while reducing environmental impact helps the company avoid breach of contract risks tied down to downtime or system failures. So our solution is not just environmentally sustainable, but it is also legally strategic, forward-thinking, and it is most importantly aligned with Vantage's operational and compliance obligations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Board of Directors. I'm going to start off with the first question, and then Mia and Marie and Miguel, you made it. If you have any questions as the Board of Directors, we can do that. I know you guys, can you restate for me what the ethical benefit? I heard Sophia talk about ethical. And just exactly, I guess, for the company or what, tell me more about the ethical piece.
Ethically, since Vantage is operating within communities that are facing water scarcity, and it's, we believe that a company should try to be a good member of this community. We also are we're also addressing that there is a mutual benefit. And since Vantage can be can both mutually benefit from the solution that we're providing, and also be a good member of the community by not competing with culturally important farms or agricultural centers that provide food and help alleviate food scarcity. We believe that would make the solution ethical.
So specifically state what we're ethically, how are we ethically, what we're going to do is that by using the water? I'm trying to make sure I understand.
Yes, by using, limiting our potable water consumption, we are limiting our our effect on both competition for water, which is a scarce resource, and overall usage of water, which ultimately benefits both the community and us as Vantage.
Right. And I think, Sophia, you also mentioned, you just brought it up again, but using the non-potable water. I did write down this. I don't know if I heard this, but where would we get this non-potable water? And does that save us money as well?
Yeah, I'd be happy to chime in. It's a dielectric liquid coolant. So it's less of an actual water like what you would get out of your hose or even your tap from the sink. And it's an actual specific compound that is used to cool these materials and be reusable through its dielectric properties. And actually, that way we are not competing with these communities Sophia is talking about, as we are not taking from a potable water source that would be needed for agricultural sectors.
Sorry, I was thinking this might tie into that line of questioning a little bit, just in terms of evaluating options. So just curious, any thoughts around precedent set? So I know you mentioned Sophia, and this question could be for anybody in the team to respond to. But I know, Sophia, you mentioned that, with our presence in many of these more vulnerable communities, do any insights of precedent set with either our competitors or of entities consuming water that has been set where they've maybe been faced with any impacts because of their usage of water and the consumption, kind of the rates that we're using, just to know how volatile is this area as far as our consumption relative to those competitors or companies?
Was that for Sophia, Marie?
At least with in the past couple of years, with the increase of AI, data centers have seen an increase in need for capacity for cooling, and there just needs to be more data centers and more things that are running because there's just generally so much more data in recent years. And data centers are consuming a lot of energy and a lot of water. Well, I don't have the specific number currently. It's a very large percentage in comparison to other sectors that use water in like those water scarce communities. And by creating a precedent set of maintaining this resource, we believe that this would relate to a future benefit for both community members as well as other data centers, because with water becoming more expensive, we should attempt to make changes. With potable water specifically becoming more expensive, we should make changes that relate to a sustainable, a move towards sustainability and maintaining these resources. And this ultimately benefits this, like the stakeholders that are like, it benefits us financially and it benefits the community around us.
It makes sense. Thank you for that answer.
For Terrence, the finance. Do we have any examples or any cases that that these kind of investments have yielded
Certainly.
the ROI?
So I based my research and the numbers you saw presented off of several cases across the country with different data centers that have adopted liquid cooling methods, whether it was in the Northeast or the Southwest of the country, the results are the same. You see that liquid cooling significantly reduces energy consumption in a data center, and properly used and maintained can really, really help the data center, both from a financial aspect and as well from an energy consumption. It's good for the books, but it's also good for the planet.
Go ahead,
On
Marie.
this similar kind of thinking too, operationally, and especially with some of the research you have done, Terrence, is there, at a high level, kind of thoughts as to the impact to us operationally for skill sets needed to now adopt and manage this new substance and maintenance, upskilling for internal resources or source in new talent, and just what does that look like to us operationally in terms of the ways of working? I know you did put a cost profile out there for estimated run rate cost increase, but just curious to the people impact.
So that's a great question. And scalability, in my opinion, is one of the actual biggest strengths of liquid cooling. So as you could see from my 3 options presented, liquid cooling is not a one-stop shop, fits every data center solution. We have different types of liquid cooling, and these are the 3 that I found to be the most beneficial for a company like Vantage. However, there are other solutions out there in the liquid cooling technology sector, and the different size and intensity of a data center can be customized to fit each type of liquid cooling. So as you saw with immersion cooling, it would likely require to be at a larger data center where the necessary infrastructure is already likely in place, and wouldn't be too beneficial at a smaller data center where something like AIO or D2C cooling would be increasingly beneficial. So the beauty of liquid cooling is it will save you money and it will reduce energy consumption in any type of data center across the country, whether it is a super large facility that is super intensive or a very small one that with minimal output.
And any estimates for how long it would take for even a single data center range wise to implement? Is it a 6 month, a year, less than 6 timeframe?
So the installations, it would be completely dependent on how many racks are in the data center. So per rack, it won't take too long to install one of these. If you were to implement this in a data center with hundreds or even thousands of racks, of course, it might take, I would say 3 to 6 months would be the absolute ceiling of your expected installation for this. I mean, these type of things go into personal PCs on a daily basis. So doing it per rack would probably only take, an hour, maybe 2. So if you have a very large data center, you could see some timely installations. However, the turnaround per rack is very minimal.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Great. I had a question for legal. If you have a second. I know we talked a little bit about the requirements. Are we not following any of these? And if so, say we did go to the racks, and then if we did, would there be any pushback that we would receive from the community? Anything that would shift over?
No, so currently all of the legal requirements are being followed completely,
Okay.
but there is just the risk of going over them since in like some time range they may be shifted just because those areas, specifically California and Arizona, have increasing environmental concerns, and because of the droughts, we don't know if those limits for using that potable water are going to be shifted a little bit, and we may be at potential risk of going over them. And then if we install liquid cooling, we would minimize the risk of those of overreaching those limits. And the only things that would kind of need to be amended would be maybe permits and just building and zoning codes and meeting like worker safety and other like safety protocols. But we would minimize the risk of overreaching the water use.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for answering that.
And I'm not sure who this question might be for, but just any thoughts from any branding or how we would position ourselves to give a competitive edge around making this change, what that would look like. It looks like the majority of the benefits in the financials highlighted more from kind of a cost of ownership standpoint, but I'm thinking there could be some competitive edge that could help drive more revenue. And so as we think about benefits, maybe that's another angle we could consider.
But I think being ahead of the curve on this and showing a full commitment to minimizing energy consumption and being environmentally conscious is a huge plus for any brand in this day and age. Vantage Data Centers taking advantage of this and really investing in protecting against energy consumption would be a huge plus for the company to be able to put on their badge, and would definitely show increased profit and attractiveness to other companies that may want to approach you guys as Vantage for your data centers.
Yeah, going off of what Terrence was saying from a more like sustainability perspective, Vantage sustainability efforts can differentiate from competitors. So you're appealing to a lot more clients and stakeholders who prioritize environmental responsibility. We've seen this day and age how much the environment and how much we're taking into consideration environmental responsibility. And this can be seen into a wide variety of companies who put in initiatives to make sure that we are taking the environment seriously. So as more businesses and governments set sustainability goals, Vantage can position itself as a preferred partner because it's showcasing its commitment to reducing its carbon footprint and minimizing water usage. So by adopting advanced cooling technologies and energy efficient practices, Vantage can reduce, operating costs, offering more of a, competitive pricing while maintaining high quality services. But this just showcases how Vantage can be a very prominent industry leader within regards to sustainability.
And also, one other aspect about branding is our clientele is big tech, and big tech companies on a human level are run by people who, are very into computers, and they know a lot just like about their own personal computers, their own like engineering stuff. They know a lot about this, and they already have a predisposition in favor of water-based cooling, because even if they don't know much about how data centers are run, on an individual scale, people with computers, people who have their own PCs, people who are interested in running high-level stuff on a computer, requiring it to need a lot of chip cooling and chip cooling capabilities, they prefer water-based cooling just for their own personal cooling needs, whether that's at home because it's, lowers the noise of the fan. It's, and it's also, it comes across as more high tech and almost sexy because it has this it has a more it's more efficient than air-based cooling. It's quieter. And so by implementing that on a larger, more corporate scale, they already have this predisposition towards it.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I might have missed it, but like, what could be the operational risks if this proposal, like, water cooling system fail? Like, what are have you considered any backup plans, or how do they compare to traditional systems in terms of like maintenance complexity? Because it's a liquid, right? There are some states that, like California or Texas, that have like extreme weather, and also like California has earthquakes. Texas has hurricanes, and that's kind of type of extreme weather. Have you guys looked into what the potential operational risks are?
So obviously, every system with hardware may require maintenance needs, especially in extreme weather conditions, as you mentioned. This would be no different from a liquid or an air-cooled system. So the operational risks are present simply by operating a data center. However, with liquid cooling, has minimal maintenance needs and is a lot more reliable. Your operational risks actually decrease per data center that you implement liquid cooling due to its minimal maintenance. Say a earthquake in California rolls in, as you mentioned, and you have some damage to a couple of your racks in a data center due to the earthquake. It would not cost too much to fix these racks and possibly even put in new racks and replace them completely if necessary. However, with an air-cooled system, you would actually face 3 to 5 times more operational costs for replacements. So liquid cooling would actually protect against these extreme weather conditions and save you guys money in the long run in case of an extreme weather condition situation.
Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Mia. And I know, Miguel, you had a question. Unless there's anything pressing, we'll have Miguel be the last question, and then we'll go into feedback for the presentation as a judge. But as a board of director, Miguel, ask your question.
Yes, just for the legal side, do we have any estimate or any idea of the cost of fees and fines if we were able to go overstep the regulation?
Yes. Although I don't have like a specific number, it will be very costly. Per my research, it will be very costly if we overstep those acts.
Yeah, I had a similar question on, and maybe we could lead into good feedback now. We'll switch out of board of directors and into judge mode. Thank you guys. Excellent job. Very nicely done. I like how you were able to hit back and forth, and you had thought through your questions and your answers, and you took it a little bit further. I will go around the room, and I can end with, I have several things to add, and unless the other judges get to it, I'll check them off my list, but we'll start with Mia. What kind of feedback would you like to give them for their presentation?
I thought they did an excellent presentation, making things very clear and concise. Thank you very much, because sometimes I look at presentations and it's like, I don't have time to read. I'd love to get just to the meat of it. The one thing that I would have appreciated was when you were comparing the systems, maybe because I'm just an Excel spreadsheet junkie, is just to see like what the all-in-one would look like compared to the D2C, just in a summary. Just because from an executive point of view, they just like to see like the numbers, what it is in a comparison to come up with some kind of decision. But other than that, I thought you guys did a great job.
Yep, I think you guys did a really nice job, and I think your presentation as a whole, collectively, in the way you presented it, well done, good confidence and all. And it does seem, especially through the Q&A part, you guys did a lot of research and know your area well. I think maybe just adding a little bit more content in those slides to reflect all that knowledge and work you guys did might be a little bit of an edge. And I agree with Mia, kind of the recap on those options to summarize it and then maybe indicating the one that you recommend. And just maybe layer into that a cost aspect to risk avoidance around that landscape of what's happening and maybe with other competitors and loss that they may have had as a result of the complaints that have come back to them. So just maybe that one pager could help. And then the only other slide that could be interesting to present in there would just be that high level timeline. So if we went with this option, we could probably accomplish an implementation in a year if we're retrofitting all of the data centers, maybe just something to that effect. But good job in thinking on your feet, especially with some of the questions we came up with that were new angles.
I would say that it was a very, very good presentation, very thorough, very, very well-rounded, and very, very clear. So I would say something like Mia said, probably do some more comparisons, because yes, the boards like to see, what if this happens, or how are we comparing versus something else, what happened. So I think overall the presentation was, again, very good. You guys were very clear, spoke very well. So I would be very convinced, to at least look at this very, very seriously, and moving forward. Again, I know that maybe we'd like to sort out a lot of details, especially from the finance side, but at this level, I think it's just more of trying to sell the project.
Good. Thank you, Miguel. Excellent job, guys. I do have a few things that just from a presentation standpoint, been to many of these and, thinking about marketing. But did we offer a picture of the rack at all? Did I miss it when I was taking notes? Did you show a picture to us, what they look like? Anybody? If not, I would add something like that so we kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. When Sophia, when you were talking about the ethical path forward, if we were to look at that slide, I think the slide was called it was called mutual benefit slide. To me, that's where you were talking about the ethical path forward. I didn't see the word ethics anywhere on there. I think it was emphasizing win-win on that slide. And I was looking at that slide saying, does this slide stand alone? So you want your slides when the board of directors, you guys had your pitch and you want us to be able to go back and look at our slides and know what we were talking about. I would not have gotten the ethical benefit on that slide at all. In fact, I would be like, what's win-win, right? So there was just a couple of explanations of what win-win means, but not actually what the win-win was. So I would work on that slide a little bit to that's my spot to put the ethics, or you guys can pick where it is, but that's just my feedback for that. Also, from a slide perspective, I love your bullet point, your piece at the top, but it is light blue and it is very difficult to see. And you want that, your header should be your boldest piece, right? That should be the darker, bold piece that I remember. So I know what we're talking about. So I would kind of liven up that header, your header bullet. Let me see. I had Terrence. Can you please look in your all-in-one slide? If I remember, this is my fast glance. You said that, is it that one or the direct to chip? Actually, it was your direct to chip slide. You said that underneath it says you use 0.5, but the next section over shows 1/10 of the cost. So 0.5 versus 1/10, I don't know if those numbers were realistic. something had to be fixed there.
So the costs on either side of that number represent the maintenance and the installation itself, whereas the number is representative of how much energy consumption, like the bill for the energy would be, and is a number that would be completely reflective off of the data center's usage. And I would be unable to present Vantage without a specific center to base it off of
Okay, well, maybe
hard
was
number.
the way you explained it, because you said it would be, although it was expensive. What was the second section? It says 50,000. And then you said we would use half, and then the next thing I saw was 5,000, right? Which is the 10th. So anyways, just take a look at how that's presented or how you talk about that slide. But just trying to help you when you move into that next section. And we love our numbers, you can tell. So we start to fixate on that a little bit. But I think fabulous. My last bit to you guys, I loved, Maria, I loved your wrap up, but I didn't know it was a wrap up, right? So, and I love, you restated lovely everything that you went through. I thought, I even wrote, great wrap up, if this is the wrap up. And then I had to go, oh, we're done, right? So a slide that says to finalize, to wrap this up, so we know. And what you said was great. So put that on the slide, and then we would know, and we'd be like, yes, we agree, right? So we liked it. So excellent job, you guys. Any questions for us? Thank you for being patient while Miguel's flight landed and he got into the office. I'm just kidding. We were making up scenarios, Miguel, of the board of directors. So,
No.
all right. Thank you so much.